This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. Parental discretion is advised.
Hey, you're listening to Waddle and Sylvie.
No, you're not.
Yeah, you are.
This isn't our show. This is Shy Fans in the Stand.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
I guess you don't know Glicky Sunshine.
I'm happy as a clam.
Shy Fans in the Stands. With Joe.
Who, Joey Two Scopes?
Greg You. Worldwide show for the fans.
Shy Fans in the Stands.
Two guys in the seats. Scooping sports for Chicago.
I don't know what to say. I'm just a fan trying to talk sports.
Boom. I'm happy as a clam.
You
Worldwide show for the fans.
Quit bragging me.
By the fans. Two guys in the seats. Scooping sports for Chicagoland. It's irrelevant, awkward elephant in a room apart, drop all the half and hell of it. The type of change a kid, bringing smiles from Bourbonnais. Brags, ruin plays.
No video for you.
They say, biggity bounce on Twitter for reasons unknown. Mips, Rom's nephew, laying gold bars of stone. With this part of two scoops, they come together for sure. Here's the ringy ding ding, Tuesday secure. Locked up, not locked down, I guess every single week. Talking all Chicago sports with two guys in the seats. Not portraying analysts, it's just fans with the question. Hitting highs and lows with the shiny perspective. The fire, the passion, listeners are in good hands. Cause Ballroom, Shy Fans in the Stands. Shy Fans in the Stands.
It's beautiful. I'm happy as a clam.
With Joe Mandel
absolutely.
and Greg. Worldwide show for the fans.
Worldwide.
I'm no football connoisseur.
Shy Fans in the Stands.
Look, I don't know what to say. I'm just a fan trying to talk sports.
Neither team deserved to win that game yesterday.
Worldwide.
These seem like predictable run plays.
This is Waddle and Sylvie, and you're listening to Shy Fans in the Stand.
Run, pass, run, pass.
Shy Fans in the
Shy Fans in the Stands.
And now we're coming to find out that Eddie Pinheiro wasn't even asked what side of the hash he wants the ball placed at.
Oh, absolutely.
Fans in the stands.
Throw the ball and run no huddle.
What's up, Hakeem?
Oh, what's up, Bears Barroom?
Hey.
Y'all got a great show going on.
Thanks, sir.
Can't wait to come back on.
Hey man, about 9 years ago, I auditioned for American Idol.
What's up, everybody? This is Corey Wooten, and you're listening to Shy Fans in the Stands.
Boom.
Hey, this is David Kaplan from ESPN 1000 and NBC Sports Chicago. You know what one of my favorite shows is? Shy Fans in the Stands with my guys Greg and Joe. They are awesome.
Boom.
Is that good enough for you, wise ass?
What about our buddy Greg Bragg? Shouldn't we mention him?
No.
The rapture is nigh. These books will help me figure out how nigh. This whole deal is scientifically proven. The book of Revelations has 404 verses. Add the number of people at the Last Supper, minus the number of Filipinos in the Bible, and you get
3,100,000.
3:15 p.m., May 18th. That's when the rapture will begin.
May 18th? That's 1 week from today.
A week? That's 7 days from now. The world will end next week. Spend your children's college funds. Throw that turkey now. It's the end of the world. God loves you. He's gonna kill you.
So what's left to do during a quarantine but make a podcast? Wow, a podcast? That sounds hard. No, Brian, it's actually about the easiest thing in the world. Well, so what do we do? Well, we just talk about whatever's relevant. Now, what's on people's minds these days? Katy Perry's pregnant. What else? Tom Brady's going to Florida. That too, yep. Coronavirus. Wait, she's pregnant? Way pregnant, yeah. Wow, congratulations, Katy Perry. I know, right? It's so great. But you mentioned coronavirus, which some people are also talking about. Yeah, that's why we're wearing these masks. Indeed. Now, before we start, Brian, I want to make sure we're healthy. I'm going to need you to take my temperature. I think you know how.
Welcome to Shy Fans in the Stands. I'm your host, Joe Mandel. Call me Joey Two Scoops. And it's another week of quarantine, and joining me from the man cave is my co-host and good buddy Greg Braggs Jr. Greggy Sunshine. What is up, my friend?
What's happening, Joey Two Scoops? Happy to be back at it. I look forward to these shows more than ever now that we're, into day 18 or 19 of this coronavirus quarantine, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse as we go along. The numbers and everything that they are showing us as to where this could go definitely puts a little fear in your heart, but that's what's great about sports is you have a little escape, and that's what we're here for here at Shy Fans of the Stands. We know everybody's got a lot of serious stuff going on, job related or health wise or whatever. There's a lot of implications from this coronavirus pandemic, and we're just here to try to give you guys a little release, to have a little fun. Shy Fans of the Stands,
right.
That's what we are. We can't be in the stands right now, but we're here for you on Bears Barroom Radio Network, and I'm excited to have a fun show tonight, huh, Joe?
We do, man. We're jam-packed full of amazing content. Like you said, we'll talk a little bit of Bears, and it's Southside Day here on the show, isn't it, Greg?
That's right. I mean, we should be in full-fledged baseball mode, so it would have been a perfect time to get into a full-fledged White Sox episode here, and we haven't had one yet. We've done a lot of Bears. Of course, we talked the Chicago Cubs with my love and affiliation to the North Side. We've talked a lot. We haven't really talked about the Bulls because there ain't too much to talk about over there. But
no, there's not.
The Southsiders are coming. If we could ever get a baseball season here, there's certainly a team that is going to be to be reckoned with. So it'll be exciting to see once they finally get on the diamond. And that's right. So we had to have a Southside show and get our White Sox fans in and get a little taste on that.
Yeah, we sure did, Greg. And baseball season, man, I'm jonesing for it. I know you're jonesing for it, but it's just out of grasp. But we're doing what we can right now, and we have a special guest coming on the show today. Well, a couple special guests. But our first one's going to talk some White Sox with us, and he just joined us on the line. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Adam Hoge from NBC Sports Chicago and WGN Radio. Adam, how you doing, my friend?
What's up, guys? What's going on?
Hanging in there. How's everything going on the home front, dealing with this coronavirus?
It's been pretty crazy. I'm sure a lot of people out there can kind of relate, especially if you have young kids at home. It's sort of this new dimension of trying to be a father, a school teacher, and work all at the same time.
Yeah.
Sure. And, obviously, everyone's work situation's different depending on what you're doing. But, for us, especially in the kind of the digital content world, it hasn't slowed down at all. In fact, it's almost increased because everybody's on their phones and on their computers and their iPads at home, and they're looking for stuff to consume. So it's honestly, these last couple of weeks have been insane, absolutely insane. Yeah,
it certainly it feels like it's moving fast because so much is going on. I have a kid. I have almost 2-year-old daughter here, so I actually kind of feel kind of lucky because I have, a goal each day to do stuff with her. We're teaching her a lot of stuff, and she has no idea what's going on. So it kind of makes it nice to be able to have that little release. But I hear what you're saying when it comes to that. It's just a lot on everyone's plate and the uncertainty of not knowing whether to go to work. And then, like you said, if your kids are old enough, you got to also become a teacher now. So, it's just a lot going on. So we really appreciate your time and you coming on. I know you spent a lot of time already doing this, for your own work. So to come on our show, we greatly appreciate that. And that being said, Adam, I think that's the first thing everyone wants to know is, when is the Hogan Johns podcast coming back? We're all fiending for it, brother.
Yeah, I know. All I can say right now is it is coming back. I know people are getting antsy out there. It's a little complicated when you change jobs, and there's not a whole lot I can say about that right now. But sure. It's coming back. I promise that. And if it was completely up to me, we would have been back a couple weeks ago. So
okay. Well, we're excited for you. We're excited for you to be on the. Yeah, absolutely. And we're excited for you to be on the White Sox beat now. I figured we'd get a couple Bears questions in before I throw it to my guy, Joey Two Scoops. He's the White Sox in-house man. I'm the Cubs guy. So I figured I'd throw you a couple Bears questions before we get into the White Sox stuff, because I know you've been covering a lot of that stuff on the Sox Rewind and all the old school games they're showing on NBC Sports Chicago. But before we get into that, I do want to know your thoughts here on the Nick Foles signing. I know you've talked about it on Twitter a little bit, but for our listeners in the chat, how do you like the signing, and what's your vision of a quarterback competition under Matt Nagy with these two guys here going into Bourbonnais? Not Bourbonnais, Hallis Hall. Yeah. Don't break my heart. We've already done that.
Oh, don't worry. I'm going to make that same mistake too. First of all, thanks to Ryan Pace for making me look good on this one, because I've been talking about this Nick Foles trade going to at least December, and it may have been even farther than that. I've thought for a long time, when you looked at the quarterback options out there that were realistic and that actually made sense for this Bears team. I know everybody out there is upset about certain things and upset about the quarterback situation. And, there's stories out there like the Bears have had the worst offseason in the NFL. I think what some of that lacks is just the context of the current situation that you're in. And right now, the Bears are up against the cap. They've had to pick and choose at certain positions to address. And obviously, that's one of the reasons I was skeptical that they'd even make a huge move at quarterback, because investing what looks like will be somewhere around $16 million this year in the quarter in Nick Foles, depending on how the restructure is, because we still don't have those numbers right now. Maybe it'll end up being a little bit lower than that. It wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. But whatever the case is, it's a significant amount of cap space going towards a quarterback that honestly you don't even want to play, because in a perfect Mitch Trubisky figures everything out and he's still your quarterback of the future. That's not the most likely outcome right now, but that's what you want to happen. So ideally, you're paying Nick Foles a ton of money to not even play, but I view it as an insurance policy, an expensive insurance policy that you need right now, because unfortunately Trubisky just hasn't been a guy that everybody thought he could at this point. So I think it makes a ton of sense in the world from the standpoint of especially the fact that Nick Foles is used to being a backup. He's used to being in these situations where it's sometimes uncomfortable, especially for NFL players. And he knows all these coaches. He's worked with Matt Nagy. He's worked with Bill Lazor. He's worked with John DeFilippo.
I completely agree with you on that. I mean, what I see is, an insurance policy in that. I know the money is big, but it helps Matt Nagy sleep at night. I'm right there step for step with you on that. But we're just gonna have to wait and see for them to say, "Hey, let's give Nick Foles the keys." That makes me worried. I gotta let Mitch Trubisky get his one swing of the bat at camp. If he shows he's not ready, fine. I can trust Nick Foles to come in there, but it is going to be interesting. Now, before we get to the White Sox, Robert Quinn, do you think he's going to take this defense and turn him into an unstoppable force like we saw in 2018?
I'm a little bit skeptical is not the right word, but just he's an older player. The one thing I'm not a huge fan of, but although I feel like I certainly understand why Ryan Pace had to go in some of these directions right now, given the situation he's in. But just the amount of signings of guys over 30 is sort of a shift that you just know over time that one or two of those are just not going to work out. It's just how it is in the NFL. So, I think it's encouraging that Quinn has certainly kind of reached a second wave in his career. And caught that wave and certainly looked last year. And he's not going to be asked to be the number one guy in Chicago. That's key to me, too. I mean, he's probably, everyone wants to just talk about the edge rushers, but when you consider Akeem Hicks and Ed down there in the middle, too, Quinn's going to be fourth on the list of players that the offensive coordinators are worried about. So I think that bodes well for him, too. So I don't hate that move at all. Little skeptical where he's at in his career about how it's ultimately going to work out, but I do like the fact that they went out and addressed that spot and ultimately made the move they did, letting Leonard Floyd.
Technical difficulties, more nonsense.
That's right. Well, we're giving Adam a call back now, so we're going to see if we can get him back on the line. Adam, I think, is back with us. Adam, you're back?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome.
Okay, Ed, I'm really sorry about that. We had some kind of connection issue with Skype. You know, a lot of people are on Skype and Zoom and everything else nowadays, quarantined in their house. So we appreciate your patience here and apologize once again.
No problem.
So back to the 2005 White Sox. You know, you've been doing a lot of this Sox rewind stuff, you know, and just to try to get us back here on track. You know, my thought here is with this new White Sox team, you know, how excited are you for? I know that season hasn't started and all this craziness with the coronavirus, but how excited are you to join this team here right at the start of their, you know, blossoming? You know, the Cubs in 2015 kind of took off in the way they did, and you could kind of see it coming. And it seems like the Sox are on that same pathway.
Yeah, I mean, it does, and that's the hope right now. You know, I've been around the team a little bit the last 2 years doing pre- and post-game for WGN Radio, but certainly diving into this new gig with NBC Sports Chicago, going to be, you know, kind of immersed in it even more than I was. And, you know, it's a thing that if you've been following the rebuild closely, it's kind of that time for this team. You know, I compare it to 2015 for the Cubs, where, you know, that was supposed to be the year that they turned the corner, and it turned out that was the case. So I think that was the hope this year with this White Sox season, and those are certainly the conversations we were having 3 weeks ago. Right now, though, guys, I mean, I'm as intrigued as anyone to know what this is all going to look like. You know, we had a chance to talk to Lucas Giolito today on a conference call, and, you know, he's back at home in California, and his days consist of throwing into a net in his backyard, working out in his gym in his garage, and watching Netflix with his wife and cooking, you know. So it's not ideal for a high-level athlete in Major League Baseball to try to be maintaining what they built up in spring training right now. And the prospect of whenever it is getting back together in what will probably be just like 2 weeks of spring training, jumping into the season. We have no idea how many games are going to get played, if there's double headers. It could throw this whole thing for a loop. That being said, there was no guarantees that the White Sox were going to, you know, have it all click this year and all of a sudden become a playoff team anyway. So it's also possible that whatever happens and however the season plays out, it works for the White Sox advantage as well.
No doubt about it. And you know, they've had quite the offseason, like you mentioned. And, you know, Luis Robert signed a long-term deal before even playing a single major league inning. So obviously the team thinks highly of him. You know, what kind of potential does he have on the offensive and defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, Luis Robert has been like the one prospect ever in baseball for me that I've just been totally, completely all in on from day one. I mean, most guys, even, you know, Yoan Moncada and Eloy Jimenez, who are highly touted, you're always going, yeah, but it's baseball and guys sometimes don't work out. For me, Luis Robert, from day one, looked the part. I mean, I had a chance to see him in spring training a couple years ago, and he was hitting home runs and triples and running all over the place. You could tell he could play defense. He just had the natural ability, even though it's spring training, he's playing his first games ever in the States at that point, and just totally looked like he belonged. And that was a couple years ago. So when you see him have the season he did last year, climbing up the minor leagues and pretty much just dominating every single level, I mean, that's what you want to see from future superstars. And that's usually what the superstars do at the minor league level. So for me, I'm so excited about Luis Robert, just as a baseball fan, to be able to see what he's actually going to be able to do at the major league level. I thought it was a no-brainer to lock him up to a long-term extension and get him on the team on opening day. And, you know, again, though, you just hope that this hiatus doesn't stunt his development because, and this is a bigger conversation at every level for every prospect or young player, Whether we're talking about young players in Major League Baseball or even down to the high school level where they're not even having baseball seasons right now. Development is going to be a big conversation, I think, not only this season, but going forward in future years when we start to talk about how did the coronavirus in 2020 impact this player's development. I don't think there's no doubt that it's going to play a role here, I think, for a couple years because the type of delay we're going to see here is going to be very significant.
Okay, so back to the Sox rewind. Now we're going to go a little back and forth to the past and present. Now, I want to ask you, and I got a little audio for you, but I want this audio after we play it. I do want to ask you, is this the greatest catch in Major League Baseball history?
That ball hit deep into left center field. Wise back. Makes the catch!
What a play!
Dwayne Wise makes the catch! What a play by Wise! Mercy! A great catch by Dwayne Wise!
It's unbelievable as Wise goes back into the wall knowing he has no room to spare. He goes up over the wall and then juggles it before corralling it. What a play by Wise!
Under the circumstances, one of the greatest catches I have ever seen in 50 years in this game. Alexei! Yes! 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 History!
Now, after reading your articles today, I saw that you said your favorite game you ever been to was the 99-minute, pitching outing by Mark Burley. But the perfect game, obviously will live on forever. As Hawk Harrelson just said, it was history. And for me, not even being a Sox fan, I'm a Cub fan, but Dwayne Wise making that catch over the wall to save a perfect game. I mean, how many perfect games has there been in the history of baseball? 30? So for him to catch that under those circumstances in the ninth inning, where would you rank that? I mean, next to the Will. I mean, I don't know if it's hyperbole or not to put it next to the Willie Mays catch.
Yeah, I mean, it's up there because I think anything that impacts a championship, it probably outranks just a perfect game that happens in the middle of the season. But and that's why I would also point out the catch that doesn't get nearly enough attention, not only in Chicago White Sox history, but also I think in World Series history, is the catch that Juan Uribe made going into the stands in the ninth inning in Game 4 of the World Series. Now, the difference there, of course, is, if he doesn't make that catch, there's still other opportunities for the Sox to win that game. And even if they don't win that game, it was only Game 4 and they were up 3-0 in the series. So maybe that's why it doesn't get enough attention. Whereas the Dwayne Wise catch, if he doesn't make that play, it's not a perfect game. It's as simple as that. And I think when you look at where he started when that ball was hit, the ground he covered, the leap over the wall, the concentration, it's an incredible play. And it's by a guy that probably without that catch, most people don't remember, right? And that's certainly the play that for Dwayne Wise defined his career and is always part of defining Mark Burley's career, because Burley got that perfect game. And it was, what a moment. And also for all the criticism that Hawk gets sometimes, that's a tremendous call by Hawk.
Yes, it is.
He's thrown there
One
under
of the
those
best
circumstances too, because he nailed it. And that's a moment that will go on forever.
No doubt. And jumping back to the present now, the catcher position has been solidified with Yasmani Grandal, but give me some insight into the backup catcher position. Are James McCann and Yerman Mercedes both going to make this team?
Yeah, I thought with the 20, this again goes back to the unknown that we have right now. With the 26th roster spot, I thought there was a chance that Yermin Mercedes would make it. And in fact, the one piece I got to write for NBC Sports Chicago before everything got shut down immediately, like the day after I wrote it,
was taking a look at some of those questions that were remaining with at that time, 2 weeks to go until opening day, or 3 weeks. I'm losing track of time right now. But
we all are.
Yeah, and then who knows what day it is, or at this point what month. But anyway, I thought he had a chance. They ended up sending him down to AAA, kind of a procedural move. Even Kopech was sent down technically the other day. Here's the thing, though. We may see rosters expanded.
True.
It may be necessary with however the season is played out, and we might be looking at like almost no off days, possible double headers. They may have to expand rosters, and maybe it's like a 30-man roster. We don't know at this point what it's all going to look like. And obviously, if that's the case, I would think that he has a chance. I've always liked the idea of carrying 3 catchers, especially if they can all hit. And at this point, James McCann can hit. We saw that last year. Yermin Mercedes was mashing the ball in spring training. He looked outstanding. So, even if he's not catching a whole lot, if he's a guy you can bring off the bench and pinch hit, then I like that idea.
Well, we certainly look forward to your more of your White Sox coverage here going forward. Obviously, we need you in that Bears hole and getting us all the information from there. But we are excited for your White Sox coverage if they ever get back to sports. And that leads me to some of my final questions here before we cut you loose. I'm going to give you a long-winded coronavirus question because, I got a few thoughts here. And I just want to know when you think we should expect sports to be back. Do you think there will be a baseball season? And if there is, if you were the commissioner, how would you handle a shortened season?
So we did a lengthy Sox Talk pod on NBCSportsChicago.com the other day. Chuck Garfien, Vinny Duber, and myself kind of discussing all those questions. And it was almost kind of therapeutic to talk it all out because the reality is none of us know at this point.
Right.
But it's still kind of fun to talk about and discuss about the different possibilities.
Is it fun or is it scary, depending on your outlook? Like, do you think I don't think there's going to be a baseball season. I hate being the pessimist here, but I just the longer this gets pushed, I mean, you're seeing states like I think Virginia, they said that they're going to be locked down until June 11th. Like they already put that into effect. Like, how far does this get pushed? And then if they say, okay, August, all right, we're ready to resume going back to normalcy in life, not just sports, they got to have a spring training again. They're not just going to be able to fire this back up, right?
Right, and that's where I look for baseball specifically. Right now, this could change, but right now, as of where we're sitting here on the last day of March, I do think there will be some type of season. How short that season is, I don't know. How long it rolls, possibly into December. Do we need a neutral site World Series or playoff games because it's too cold in places like Chicago? Potentially. But there's a mutual interest to play games because the players' contracts are prorated based on how many games get played, so they want to play. The owners obviously want to salvage some of the season.
But would the teams want to salvage a year of one of their players' eligibility if it was such a shortened season? They didn't think you got some guy signed to a 7-year deal, and one of these years is only a 20-game season and a pool play, like some are suggesting.
That's kind of, but maybe a general manager has a certain feeling about that, but you got to think about the owners. I mean, the owners are going to want to recoup as much money as possible, I think. Now here's to me the biggest complication. We can put an estimate and say, hey, maybe this clears up by June. Who knows? By the way, Toronto today, I saw they say they're going to have no public gatherings till the end of June. So if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, based on that, you can't host a game with fans until July 1st now. So that's another date to keep in mind. The stuff like that does make me sad, and that is not fun to talk about. But to me, I think the bigger issue potentially is, all right, let's say we get all this, starts getting cleared up. Somewhere in June, they could start spring training again. I don't know. You start having games maybe you're a month into your season. You thought when you start reading things and hearing things from these medical experts, and I'm certainly not one of them, I'm just going off things that I hear and credible things I hear and read, because that's important right now. But there's a lot of talk about there being second and third waves of this thing. So what happens if you're a month into the season that you've resumed and all of a sudden a player in a locker room ends up with the coronavirus?
They're going to cancel this until there's a vaccine. That's my biggest fear, is that I've read reports just as you have and others have. They're all readily available where they say this is going to come back even once we get the curve stabilized, that until there's a vaccine present, that this is just going to keep happening until we get one. And they're trying like hell to get one. But that's what my biggest fear is. They're going to try to start things back up because everyone is impatient. Everybody wants this to come back. Everybody wants to get back to their normal lives. And then it's going to, especially in the sports realm, especially in like college where kids are involved and, all that stuff. So I that's my fear. I'm like one of those expect for the worst, hope for the best at this point, because I don't want to get my hopes let up each week as they keep pushing this further and further back, and then I keep getting my hopes let down. I'm just like, I'm at a point where I'm like, I don't know, like catatonic towards this and just like moving on with my life until they tell me it's coming back, because I don't want to keep stressing. But we're only 3 weeks into this and people are losing their minds,
Yeah, no, they are. And, you start having those, the scary thing about what you just said is that starts to put the NFL season in question. And, you just look at how the different leagues are operating right now.
Right.
And the NFL is the one league that's just sort of like pretending this isn't
the
happening.
Unstoppable force.
They're following the present orders of like, okay, you can't have a certain amount of people in a certain place. Okay, then fine. Well, we're going to run the draft.
Right.
You can't visit the facilities. We're going to run it. You're going to have to get some hotel rooms outside of, your facility. You can't have more than 10 people in a room because that's what the CDC says. But the draft is still going to happen. And, the season, we're planning on it still happening right now. They're just acting kind of really naive, I feel like, right now. Part of it is, like, they don't want to start causing panic, I'm sure, when they honestly don't know right now.
Right.
But it is kind of funny just looking at how the NFL is operating right now compared to the other leagues.
So to circle back and cut you loose here on this final thought, but you mentioned the draft here and it's coming up and the NFL's going to do it whether nobody's in the room or not. I do think that opens up the door for teams like the Bears to have a player slip through the cracks because people can't do their homework as well as they normally do in normal operating years. So that's what I want to get my question to you on is, what are your thoughts going into this draft here a few weeks away? Do you think the Bears can draft a quarterback here in the second round now that they've made these moves? Or what do you think the bigger need is, playmaker or offensive line?
Well, first of all, I would say that I'm definitely not opposed to them drafting a quarterback, and in fact, I still think they should, because as much as I've argued that Nick Foles makes a lot of sense for this team right now, those last two words there are key right now. Nick Foles is proven also throughout his career as good of a backup and potential fill-in and a guy that can push your younger starter as good as he can be in that role. He's also never been the guy that he's been on 5 different teams, so he's not the guy that's going to be your quarterback for 10 years, and that's why I still think the Bears, whatever round it is, can certainly justify drafting another quarterback, and I'm all for that. Even if they do it in the second round with one of those 2 picks, I'm not going to criticize it. That being said, there's no question right now. I think they need an upgrade at right guard. I'd love to see that position addressed early. They still need a young tight end too. There's plenty of needs. They need a cornerback as well. So, look, just get as many of those guys as possible. I think it makes a lot of sense to move back at least once in the second round to try to acquire more picks, especially since you traded that 4th-round compensatory selection to Jacksonville. So your 3rd draft pick right now doesn't even come until the 5th round. I would almost be surprised at this point if Pace does not trade back at least once to get another pick earlier than the 5th round.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to it, and we're going to continue to look forward to your coverage here as we head towards the draft. Really appreciate your time, Adam. Sorry for the audio snafu, live radio, how that goes, but we appreciate your patience and and your time coming on the show tonight. I know it's valuable. You got a lot of work you're putting in for everything else you're doing. So here at Shy Fans, we definitely appreciate you.
No problem, guys. It's fun to talk to you.
So, one more thing. I got nervous when we were hanging out in London. I always have this tendency to say Hoge instead of Hoge. Does anybody else do this to you?
All the time. I mean, not people that I'm close with.
It's because of Johns. I would have never done this. But then when you got with Johns, I always want to say Hoge. I was like in London when we were hanging out. I was like, don't say Hoge. Don't say it. Then I was like, why would I say his full name? Just call him Adam.
It's usually people that just don't know who I am. If you get anybody on the phone that you're talking to, you're just calling some random business.
Right.
They don't know how to say your name. Everybody gets it wrong. A lot of it's Merrill Hodge's fault.
Yeah.
I'm sure somehow
that's
I'm
true. Merrill Hodge too, former Bear running back. That's the other reason. You're right.
It's not my fault though that he doesn't know how to pronounce his name.
But you have to admit, Hodge and Johns kind of rolls off the tongue a little better.
Not for me, man. Not for me. No way. Hogan Johns, there it is.
Hogan Johns. No, I'm messing with. No, we really appreciate your time, Adam. And again, thank you. And for all the listeners tuning in here in the live chat and listening in the pod, you can find Adam at NBC Sports Chicago. He's covering the White Sox beat, and he's also obviously always on the Bears beat and on WGN Radio. You can find him all over Chicago working hard for the fans, and we appreciate you very much, Adam.
All right, thanks, boys.
Thank you.
All right, man. Appreciate your time. Thanks again. Holy smokes, Greg. What a great guest.
Man, amazing guest and a really good guy. Like I said, Bearlissimo, me, and all of Bears Twitter, it seemed like. We were in London for the Bears Raiders game, and the night before we're at this famous bar in London drinking, and it seemed like all of Soldier Field was there, and there was Hoge and Johns. I had to mess with him a little bit. For a long time when he first started on the beat, I'd call him Hoge. So Hoge. He said that people don't know him, but it's just like, I don't know, the way I read it, and it must have been, like he said, from Merrill Hodge. That's probably the other half of it. It wasn't just
100%.
Johns. It was probably that too. And so, I always get, my names, when I get something in my head, I can't get it out. So it took me forever to train myself to correctly. So that's why I was really hoping you were going to take the reins to intro, because I knew I was going to get all nervous and screw it up, Joe.
Well, hey, I said his name right.
Yes, and that's why we love you, Joe. You dot your I's and you cross your T's. I get all nervous and then I start screwing up.
Sometimes I'm the brain, sometimes you're the muscle, and sometimes it's reversed. It's potato.
That's right. You say potato, I say potato. And now we get to say a lot more things here with another great guest. That wasn't the best segue, but that's all I got to work with here.
Hey, man, it is what it is. I'm dialing up our next guest right now. We're going to see if she answers.
We're looking forward to it. It's an exciting guest. We were all on Twitter last week, crying to our friends, baseball friends, that baseball is no longer here. It was opening day at home for everyone.
Our special guest has just joined us on the line, and she has joined us here on Shy Fans in the Stands, and we're going to introduce her the only way we know how, and that's Bears Barroom style. For 40 years, she put a smile on the face of every single White Sox fan. Her sound and magic on the keyboard shaped the ball game experience from the second you walk in the park all the way to the last out. Please join me in welcoming the legend and former White Sox organist, Nancy Faust. Nancy, thank you so much.
That was quite an introduction. Do it again.
We'll be happy to send you it. Joe worked hard, my co-host here. Joey Two Scoops, Joe Mandel, as I was telling you on the phone over the weekend, he works real hard on these audio opens and everything else. So we'll be happy to send all those along to you. And again, Nancy, we really appreciate you coming on. When your son posted that video on Twitter for opening day at home, like I told you, it really kind of hit home with everybody. Anybody that's, you know, from Chicago has been to a Sox game, whether you're a Cubs or a Sox fan, and we've all heard, you know, your music throughout the years. You know, you've been doing that. You've done it for four decades with Chicago sports, not just the White Sox, and you know, a staple, honestly, of our sports community. So we are honored to have you on Shy Fans and Stands here tonight.
You're too kind. You're too kind, Greg. But what a great thrill it was for me to be there for 4 decades, like you said, with a captive audience. And everybody was there to have a good time, and I just feel like I was at the right place at the right time during my life. It just couldn't have been better career, better life, but with more fun surrounding me and just good timing. You know, and boy, don't we miss things today.
So take us back to where this started. You know, I was, you know, researching you to make sure I knew everything correctly here. It says, you know, you started in 1970, but, you know, as you were telling me on the phone, you had, you know, musical intuition, but you didn't know exactly where you wanted to go with it. How did you find your way into, you know, doing, you know, games, you know, the organ at baseball games?
Well, Greg, I've always had the ability to just play any song by ear, but I never planned on doing it at a sporting event. But I had friends when I was in college that were sports enthusiasts that had kind of steered me and said, you ought to be playing for the Cubs or the Sox. And one of my friends actually wrote a letter to the Cubs and signed my name, I think, way back in the 60s, saying, why don't you hire me or use me, or I'd be willing to play the national anthem if you'd like that, because there's a war going on. Wouldn't it be nice to play the anthem? And Philip Wrigley actually answered that letter and said, this is not the time. We don't want to commercialize the anthem at this time, because the Vietnam War is not officially a war at this time. So right now that letter is at the Hall of Fame in New York. Wow. Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah, because who'd think of baseball without the national anthem?
Sure.
But those days were different.
They didn't take you up on that. That's
Well, yeah, but Greg, I'm really sorry, but you are breaking up on me a bit. But yeah, that was just bad timing and
technical difficulties.
And it captured my fancy when I was about 4 years old, and I realized I had a pretty good ear, so I was able to play really anything that I heard. And so
what were some of your musical inspirations growing up? Who were some of your favorite singers or, you know, artists?
Well, when I was in college, I suppose it was the Beatles, and I always the Everly Brothers. I liked whatever was on the top 40. When Dick Biondi's hits, the top 40, I'd buy 45 records and listen to them and then play them. There were just whatever was popular in the 60s and 70s. I played for my own amusement, and then I realized my friends were even enjoying my music. So anybody that was popular.
So you say you were just able to hear a tune and play it. When did you learn that you could do that? When did you, like, what was that like? I can't imagine being able to, like, when I walk up to a piano and try to hit the keys, nothing happens. So, like, how are you able to just walk up and start doing this? I know, you know, seeing movies of other musicians that have this talent, I just don't understand how one can do this. Like, what age did you realize that you could just naturally just play anything to the tune of your ear?
Well, I grew up listening to my mother play, so when the opportunity arose for me to have a keyboard in front of me, it just came. It was like I was a one-trick pony. I could just do it easily. When I was 5, I was actually on a television show and got first prize, which was like $75 and a wristwatch, playing the song Glowworm, which many people don't remember. But so I guess I was 5 when I was actually able to put it all together. And my father encouraged me to keep practicing. He liked listening, and he used to tell me that if I would practice, he would let me go ride a horse. And so he'd take me horseback riding. So that was my inspiration to keep practicing. Practicing came easy, and playing music came easy, and I just kept riding those horses and learning more as I went along. So when I was in college, I filled in for my mother, who played at a lot of luncheons, banquets, functions, and the banquet that I played for was attended by Stu Holcomb, who at the time was the manager of the White Sox, and he heard me, and I was able to meet him and express interest should an opening become available. And with that, I mean, the next year he let me know. He said, if you're still interested, the job is yours. And so I was kind of panic-stricken because I had attended only one ball game my whole life. And but yeah, I was really excited about that. And he actually gave me on opening day. He said, "Here's a list of players, and here's their state songs. And so if you can, manage to play a state song for each player that comes to bat." I think Bart Johnson was one, but I'm not positive. And I think he was from California, so I would play "California, Here I Come." As time went on, if somebody from California, I'd probably play "Welcome to the Hotel California" or "California Dreamin'," or "I Wish They All Could Be California Girls," anything like that.
Sure.
So "City of Angels." But so that gave me the idea to play a song as the batter approached the box. So I guess you would call that an early form of walk-up music. And I think I was the only one doing it. And once I received attention for doing that, and I was listening to the broadcast on my little radio, where the organ was then at center field bleachers. And my second year in the center field bleachers was when Harry Caray was brought to the ballpark. And I heard him say something like, "Listen to that organist, she's playing this or she's playing that." And so I was encouraged when I heard him talk about my music. And that started another wave of popularity, or just it influenced me to keep going and playing songs that are a little bit out there. And I guess I would attribute some of my popularity to Harry, because he made sure people knew what they were listening to. He also made sure that every aspect of the ball game was touted. And I was just fortunate to be one of those aspects of the game.
This is Joe Mandel, by the way, Nancy, and you were
Joe,
such a
hi.
big part. Hi, how are you? You
Good.
were such a big part of the game day experience at Sox Park. How does it make you feel to be such a big part of so many people's memories over such a long time?
Boy, I don't think I realized that I made such an impact until just a couple days ago, when my son happened to post something that I made personally for him. Once we were told to socially distance and distance ourselves from other
Sure.
people, and I talked to Eric on the phone, and he said, "Oh, the worst part about this," and I was preparing myself. What's the worst part? And he said, "I can't watch any live sports, and we can't go any games." So, and
Right.
kind of for a joke, I said to my husband, I said, "Well, put the camera on, and I'll play a little Take Me Out to the Ball Game for him." Well, this was a couple weeks back. And I don't even know if he looked at it for a while, but he must have seen that there was an opportunity to put it online for something, and he did. And it got a lot of comments that I was reading, and it was really, I must say, it made me quite emotional. I didn't know I was remembered like that, and I thought, man, this is the kind of thing you hear when you die, but I'm alive, and I'm reading these wonderful comments. And but I also must say that I had the good fortune of being having the organ placed in the stands, where I was surrounded by people and very knowledgeable fans that were able to give me such great tips for songs that struck a chord with fans in the stands. They gave me insight about players that I would not have otherwise known. And even though we didn't have social media in the day, I was very I could see hundreds of people during a game, and so I had a lot of great tips for songs.
So it sounds like you probably sounds like you probably like being out in the bleachers more than when they put you behind home plate.
No, I can't say that. Actually, it was Harry that influenced the manager to put me in behind home plate, which was a great place, because when I started back in 1970, it also happened to be the lowest attendance ever at our ballpark. I think they had about 400,000 for the year. And so there weren't many people there, but when I was brought in behind home plate, there were so many more fans, and I just had a lot more feedback, and it was all very positive. And at the time, there was no scoreboard, so I was kind of providing a soundtrack. I was able to play anything for anything that happened. It didn't matter, if a cat ran on the field, or if somebody threw a life-size dummy onto the field, or if a swarm of bees made the play stop. There was just something for everything. If the moon came up, if the clouds came over, and I mean, you name it. And there was always a song in my mind that I could fill up dead space with. And so the timing was good. I didn't have to, I didn't have to share my time, I guess. So that's
Sure.
why I felt people knew who I was and what I was doing, because that was the only sound you heard other than the PA man.
Well, and as Joe said, you are such a big part of the game day experience and traditions that have become, a staple for all sports. Like you said, Harry Caray, kind of you guys combining with the Take Me Out to the Ball Game, rendition, because he was inspired by you playing it off the organ. And then, of course, Hey, 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 Goodbye. That is something, Chicagoans, that's like their credo, when we're killing somebody, in a sporting event, that's everybody singing it as we're coming out,
singing at the top of your lungs, man.
It doesn't matter what stadium you're coming out of, and you are the inspiration behind that. Before we get your thoughts, we have that audio because we were kind of researching, searching around the World Wide Web for some stuff, and we found a guy on YouTube that actually caught a video of you playing Hey, 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 Goodbye in the organ booth behind home plate and got the reaction from the crowd right after a Joe Creedy grand slam. And to me, it's like the most perfect video ever because he captures the energy of the stadium and just the energy you bring as you're playing it on the organ. So we'll play that audio and we'll get some reaction. That's iconic, and you can hear the excitement in the guy's voice as he catches you, making, creating that moment. For all of us as fans, I live for those moments. I know Joe lives for those moments
100%.
as a White Sox fan.
Joe.
Going to the
Greg.
game. Yeah, and to see that video, I thought it encapsulated your energy and what you bring to the table perfectly. I know the story goes you played it, when a team was beaten down, the White Sox were beating out another team, and you just thought it was that perfect moment. But so that's kind of where your genius lies, is you just kind of had that perfect timing, and people just drew to that because you just had the right song at the right time at all moments.
Well, how they say, Greg, you have to be prepared for the opportunity. And the opportunity was there because I believe it was mid-season, and we were in first place. We were vying for first place with Kansas City that year. And so when they took their picture, and it was like a Friday night, and everybody, and the beer's flowing, Bill Veeck owned the team. So when they took their picture out of the game, the time was just right, and everybody just chimed in. And I don't think I'd heard everybody sing along other than Take Me Out to the Ball Game or the national anthem until something like that. And it really made quite a mark. And I remember after a couple of years, management saying, well, let's get another song. Let's do another one like that. But it's just the magic has to be there, and you can't plan things like that. Just like the Baby Shark song that's now popular. Who'd have thunk, right? But
Not me.
What a perfect fan involvement.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
Something like that.
And
just
ridiculous,
but.
And Nancy, you're talking about fan involvement, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you about what went through your mind during Disco Demolition.
Probably the whole thing seemed surreal. I mean, when it started, I was swept up in the disco sucks with my, like this. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Well, I was doing a lot of that, and the fans were singing along. But then then it did get out of hand, and I thought, "Oh my God, is this happening?" And I saw little fires ignited in the stands, and it got rather frightening. Bill Veeck, as you know, had to get on the microphone and plead with people. At one point, I believe we did this Take Me Out to the Ball Game, hoping everybody would just join in and calm down. But it just seemed to get more ignited as the night went on. And as you know, we had to cancel the second game, which was a first.
Yeah.
It really put Steve Dahl on the map.
It sure did.
It's one of they say that Bill Veeck was the Bill Barnum of promotions, and that was one that because it went wrong. It seems like everybody remembers that the most. But he did have a number of wonderful promotions, and he seemed to like what I did, and he'd have me playing music that was appropriate for whatever it was, if it was circus night or anti-superstition night or farm day or music night, Greek night, German night. I mean, he had nights for all the different ethnic groups, and so there was a place for my music there too, because they still didn't have the means to do that with the scoreboard, with Jumbotron.
Talk a little bit about
yeah.
Bill Veeck. You know, you bring him up, and you know, all you, Harry Caray, Bill Veeck, you guys did so much to change the game for the fans, you know, and make it more fun and interesting. I mean, Bill Veeck, you know, obviously of White Sox lore, but he's the reason Ivy's on the wall at Wrigley. You know, Harry Caray started the take me out to the ball game tradition on the south side and moved it to the north side, and everything you brought is spread across all of sports landscape. You know, what was it like, you know, coming up in the business with Bill Veeck and having him come up with all these wild ideas each year and each month?
Well, we just had to be prepared for what the next thing would be, and it was always something unprecedented. And I didn't have much to say to him. I think he respected what I did. He gave me a generous bonus at the end of the year, and that was something I'd never expected. So I know he liked what I did. But I must say we never exchanged a lot of words until I went to a Cubs game, and this was after he no longer owned the Sox, and he was at the Cubs game, and I talked to him during a rain delay up in the Pink Poodle room, and he couldn't have been nicer. He couldn't have been more effusive with his compliments. So I then realized that he really liked what I did, but it was quite an opportunity to have worked for Bill Veeck.
And then he gave you a donkey, right? That's what you were telling me over the weekend.
Well, actually, every promotion seemed to involve door prizes, and that kept the fans engaged in case they would win something. Well, the one particular promotion was called Ragtime Night. Somebody won an old piano, somebody won like a Model T car, and another one of the gifts was one of the prizes was a donkey that was paraded out onto the field that the winner did not claim. And so a couple days later, I saw this thing under the stands when I'd come to work. It was caged in there, and somebody remarked, "Oh yeah, we're giving it cotton candy," you know. And so I guess it would have been returned to Adventureland, who had donated it in case somebody did want it. Well, so before Bill returned it to Adventureland, I did see him and asked him if I could perhaps take that donkey home, and he said, "Sure, you come pick it up, you can have it." So that started a lifelong love of donkeys and appreciation for that animal. And
That's
well,
awesome.
What was the name of the donkey?
Well, the donkey's name, we named her Rosie, and when she passed away, then we found another, and that's what I have now, is Rosie's successor. And her name is Mandy. Yeah.
Mandy.
Rosie and Mandy. I love it. It's a beautiful pairing right there. But, all right, Nancy, so,
More nonsense.
That you also did organist music for the Bulls and the Blackhawks and even the DePaul Blue Demons when they made their Final Four run. You know, of those three sports, you know, what are some memories, or what was your favorite sport to do outside of baseball?
Well, I have to say baseball was my favorite because it lent more opportunities for creativity. You know, like playing walk-up music, which they didn't have a name for it then, but just playing for everything. There was time for every player, for everything that happened. Wasn't quite the same with hockey, but I did play for hockey, and maybe perhaps my demise was having agreed to play for North Star games when the Blackhawks weren't home. So I had gone up to Minnesota to help them select a new organist. And I did, and so then they did get an organist, but they said, well, how about if you're available, you play the games that you can, and we'll use the other organist for those other games. And I did that for a couple years, and then I was let go by the Blackhawks, sadly. But yeah, I did that. That was very exciting.
They weren't smart. They weren't forward thinking. They should have kept you on. White Sox were smart.
That's
so
right.
that was a little difficult because I played a pipe organ, and that's different than electronic. And I felt that I was finally grasping, being able to play a note but not hear it right away. And that's hard when you play by ear like I do. So because it took a while for the sound to get through the pipes, so it's just not as immediate as electronic organ. So, but my favorite thing definitely is baseball.
So Nancy, we got a question here in the chat room. Aldo in the chat room wants to know what it was like when they closed Old Comiskey Park and you moved over to the new park.
Oh, I don't think it really hit me until that last day. That I think was a Sunday, and the horses were all ready from the mounted police, ready for chaos. But everybody was so orderly, and it just seemed the game ended, and people just sat in the stands, just like this is it. It was very sad, and to know that chapter had ended. And for the people that would go to the Old Comiskey regularly and know the vendors and know the people that sat around them, we could never, make that happen again. But in time, of course, it does. But it was just the realization that a chapter and a wonderful chapter of life had ended for all of us. It was very moving. Yeah. My husband was taking videos of that game, and when I look back at him, I actually saw men sitting there crying in their seats, and I get it. Nobody likes to see the good memories of the past gone.
Oh, and when they show the picture of where New Comiskey sits next to Old Comiskey before they tear it down, the thing that always stood out to me about it, that frustrates me a little bit, is the old stadium pointed towards the skyline. And the new stadium, the outfield doesn't, and I always, like as a kid going to New Comiskey, I was like, point it towards the skyline. You got the skyline right behind. I just want to take the thing and turn it a little to the left. I loved going to Comiskey. I went there my whole life as a kid. Even though I'm a Cub fan, my mom was a teacher. My godmother, both were teachers at Salk Elementary in Maryville, and they get a lot of free tickets for different promotional reading things. And we'd always end up at White Sox games, and the Big Hurt, Lance, One Dog Johnson, Ron Karkovice. One time when we were little kids, when they used to line us up on the warning track to take pictures with the players, Ray Durham was like tickling us before we took the picture. And I have a lot of great memories, going to Comiskey Park, and you're a huge part of that. And so that's where we want to get you into some of these music questions, because I know you said you were going to be by your organ tonight.
I have the organ. It's so funny because we have a small house out here, and we had the organ out here so we could bring it to the ballpark, and I could play for the couple spring training games. But that didn't happen, of course. So now it's like, what do we do with the organ? And so we found you're in my bedroom with me. It's the only place we could put it was in a bedroom because the living room isn't large enough. So here we are. And rather than just store it here, I opened it up, but I don't know if anything can come across very well over the phone. But
no, we'll give it our best shot. So
okay, hit me with your best shot, right?
All right. I want you to play your go-to song when it rains, and then we'll see if we can figure out what it is.
Oh, golly. If I were set up, I'd play Riders on the Storm, but I'm not set up to do that because I don't have my synthesizer, so I can't play Riders on the Storm, so I'll just play something simple, okay?
Well, all right. Which CCR rain song would you rather go to? Have You Ever Seen the Rain or Who Will Stop the Rain?
I'd say, hey, have you ever seen the rain? I want to know, right?
I want to know.
Yeah, okay.
That's
I'll
right.
do
Never seen.
Did you hear that, Gregan? Joe?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Right. I want to know. That's a great song. I hadn't thought of that. But that's why I need the fans.
That's my favorite.
And the fans need you.
Clearwater Revival. That's my favorite band, of all time.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mine, but money.
That's a great sing-along.
How about you, Joe? What songs you got in mind? You're the one that's heard all these throughout the years. Joe over here.
I am the diehard Sox fan here.
Family. So, you tell her, Joe. How long have you and your family been vendors at Comiskey?
My family, Nancy, has been working in the ballparks since I was a little kid, and I worked actually at Sox Park from high school all the way to the end of college, and I still have family that works in the park.
So what was your duties? What did you sell there? What did you vend, Joe?
So I started off on nachos, and then I worked my way up to beer when I was finally 21 years old. So my stepdad was a union steward for the longest time at the park, and his son took that up now, and it's so many great memories inside that ballpark and so many great people.
Oh, that's really great history. You weren't one of the vendors that used to ask questions and trivia questions, and then you'd get a free beer if whoever answered it correctly.
No, that wasn't me, but I had all kinds of sports knowledge. That's for sure.
Yeah. So for you, I guess my walk-up song would be like "In Heaven There Is No Beer," or "99 Bottles of Beer on the Wall," or what else?
What Joe? Are there any Joe-related songs? I'm trying to rack my brain.
Oh, it's got to be "Hey Joe" by Jimi Hendrix, right?
I don't know that one, but I know that's a song, but I don't know the melody enough.
You could do something by Joe Cocker.
Well, you were gracious enough to send us a walk-up song, our own walk-up music, and I'm sure Joe has it queued up. I want the audience to hear this because you sent me an email earlier today, and I was completely blown away. Like I said, as a kid growing up, I have pictures of us as little youngins in the 90s standing next to your window taking pictures, and you are always so gracious with your time. And now, all these years later, I'm doing a silly little podcast with my good buddy here, Joey Two Scoops, and here's Nancy Faust sending me an email of my own walk-up music. If I couldn't get a bigger head, because I do got a big head. Now I've got my own walk-up music, and I'm literally going to play this every time I get out of my car when I walk up to the job to lay my bricks. I'm literally going to blast this on my radio every time I walk up now. That's how proud I am of this.
Well, you could break a lease with that. Just turn it up real loud.
Well, let's let the audience get a little listen to this and see if they can guess what the name of the song is.
All right.
So I know what it is. The chat room seems to know what it is.
We have to know the history of Greg. There's a reason, right?
And I love it too, because I'm a huge Pink Floyd guy. That's right. We had a bunch of people in the chat getting it right. Alex Acevedo and Zach Sullivan and all our loyal listeners here at Bears Barroom Radio Network. That's right. Another brick in the wall. Pink Floyd.
Well, we know you're a Pink Floyd fan, Greg.
Absolutely, I'm a Pink Floyd fan.
I learned that.
I love, and that's the beautiful thing right there. I'm definitely going to cherish it the rest of my life. And again, I can't tell you enough how much of an inspiration you are to all of us. And when we heard your son's post on Twitter, it really hit home to all of us because, we're missing sports, as trivial as it may seem, with all the more important issues going on in this world. But, I think sports are, our sign of normalcy in life, something that we go to enjoy. And when you don't have that, it just shows how not normal our current stage is with everyone dealing with this right now. So it was well received. I'm glad he put it up, for someone like you that's only missed 5 games in your 40-year career. That's something for all of us to look up to.
And Greg, that was because of the birth of her son. That's because of the birth of her son.
But that's okay. He made up for it with that wonderful post. I'm most appreciative of the comments, and it just made me feel like my life was complete after that. And I appreciate that you saw it and were expressed interest. And
Nancy, we actually pulled a couple of those comments that we wanted to read to you. We've got 3 comments here. One of them came from @Vader's Tribble. He says, "I absolutely loved going to White Sox games when Nancy was playing. This video sent me back so many wonderful memories. I really wish stadiums would go back to using organists instead of the canned music." So that was from Vader's Tribble. We also have one from @Mares62J. She says, "The queen of the organ at Sox Park. She brought joy and made the park a happy place, even when we were losing. It was so much fun at the old ballpark." And lastly here, one from Susan Prisbillo. She says, when I was about 12 and taking piano lessons at the Sox game, my mom took me up to the box so I could meet your mom. She was so gracious and encouraging. I will never forget that. So just a few comments, Nancy, of people that whose lives you've truly touched.
Well, thank you very much. It's mutual, and that's what made my job so special. And I think that's what I know that's what I miss so much about it, is just the fan interaction. I really experienced something that nobody else can. Sitting in an office or it was just, I was surrounded by people having a good time, and I meet generations. Pretty soon kids are having babies and bringing them, and next thing you know, somebody's saying, oh, my grandfather really liked you. So I realized I really was there. A good slice of life was spent right there, many years. Yeah.
And Nancy, what was that first year like after you stepped away from Sox games? What was it like having all that time on your hands?
I guess I was sad. It was sad, but I just thought the time was right. It was very bittersweet. It was bittersweet. It was the beginning of a new chapter that I wasn't certain what I should do really, and but I had time to do things in my yard, I suppose. And actually, I then played. I had a call from the Cougars, and I did weekend games, and I felt like I was still had a purpose, and I played quite a bit there. So.
Well, you definitely have a purpose. Another great comment was a guy on Twitter. He goes by the name Sox Nerd, and he had a really sweet picture with you and his daughter. And he made a great comment, too, that I want to share with you. And he said, when she was honored at Comiskey Park, the Sox executive Howard Pizer called you the Babe Ruth of stadium organists, and he said that was underselling you, that there are other power hitters and other baseball superstars and other personalities who would transform their sports or culture, but there will never be another Nancy Faust. And I really thought that's powerful words, and I want you, you were saying the other day that you didn't realize how much the people appreciated you, and you didn't think you'd hear all the. I want you to get as many nice comments as you can your way for you to be able to give us as sports fans these amazing memories and these amazing traditions that will carry on forever. We will be singing "Hey, hey, hey, goodbye" forever here in Chicago. Forever. That is because of you. You should. I want as many Sox fans and Chicagoans to tell you how much we appreciate you, and I'm glad that we crossed paths and I found your son's post, because it really has been a lot of fun having you on tonight. And maybe if we ever get a baseball season going on again, and then because the Sox look like they're getting ready to come. I know you were warning me before you came on that you don't know too much about the players and everything else, but you got to be a little excited just following it on its surface, seeing that this budding, rising, blossoming team and this young White Sox team, if they ever let them come out and play again, it looks like they're going to be pretty good going forward. Oh, yes.
I hear that all the time. This is going to be quite the year, so let's hope that we can get it underway soon enough and get us all back to some sense of normalcy.
And speaking of the current situation, I got one more question for you before we let you go, Nancy. And, when you think about the current state of professional sports, do you think baseball teams would play in front of empty seats? How much do the players rely on atmosphere and kind of what you and other stadium employees bring to the table?
I don't think they would. The adrenaline would flow from the players. Of course, they can play, but I just think that knowing that fans are there supporting you and it makes a difference. It gives you a rush. I think you perform to the max when you have fans in the stands that are supporting you. So it wouldn't be the same. I don't think it would happen anyhow, because it's too dangerous in terms of spreading bad things to each other. But you have to have, it's got to be like it was. We need some full stands, and we have to know everybody is safe. And so I guess if we all just realize we're playing a crucial role in getting through this by just social distancing. And once we get through this, come on over and I'll play you songs on the organ that we can actually hear through live radio or something else. This is a bad system, I know, with my phone. So perhaps the organ could come across a little better another time.
Yeah, we can definitely try to set something up. We'd be honored to have you as a regular guest, Nancy, and we want to hear more from you. This isn't the only time we want to bug you, but we had to bring you on after we saw that video because it did touch all our hearts and wanted to hear a little more of your story and really appreciate it. You're so kind and sweet, and I'm so glad that we were able to call and connect here. And, you know, I definitely look forward to the day that we can shake hands and meet in person, you know, and I can introduce you to the Joey Two Scoops family and the whole Comiskey Park Brigade.
Well, perhaps when I get back to the ballpark and just enjoy a game, I'll be able to meet Joe's family too.
Man,
of course. That'd be a dream come true, Nancy.
We'll buy a beer.
In a heartbeat, we will take you up on that.
Thanks,
can't
Greg.
thank you enough for coming on. You're so gracious with your time. You know, I seriously can't thank you enough. You know, the audio you sent earlier, the walk-up music, and everything else. It's been a real thrill tonight. My mom's in the chat room. You know, she
Hi, Mom.
She taught me to be the sports fan I am today, and we used to walk up to your window. We're gonna find that picture eventually, but you know, just can't thank you. I could go all day long thanking you, and truly for everything you've done. Joey too.
Joe, you too. Thank you so much. Thanks for your interest. It really warms my heart, and I look forward to meeting you in person and listening to you now that I'm aware of your podcast. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And Nancy, real quick before you go, would you be able to just say, you know, hi, this is Nancy Faust, and you're listening to Shy Fans in the Stands. I would just love to have that for use in the future if you could.
Sure. Shall I do it now?
Yeah, I'll count you in. I'll count you in. So we'll go 3, 2, 1.
Hi, this is Nancy Faust, and you're listening to Shy Fans in the Stands.
That's amazing. One take, Nancy. That's amazing.
One take. You know, Akeem Hicks of the Chicago Bears, when we had him on our main show on Bears Barroom Radio Network, Bears 100 Proof, Akeem Hicks, you know, all-pro D-tackle. It took him like 9 tries to get it. So, you know.
Maybe that's what I should be doing, right? No.
Yeah, you got it perfect in one try.
You're in the one take club, Nancy. We're proud of you, and we're so
thanks,
glad
Greg
to have
and
had
Joe.
you on tonight. And again, thank your son, Eric. We really appreciate you guys reaching back so quickly and facilitating this for all of us and the listeners. And I know there's a lot of people in the chat, Alex Acevedo and Heidi. She's from Mexico. She's not even that big of a baseball fan. She just said she fell in love with you today. And Grant Sims and a lot of people here in the Chicagoland area. Aldo Gandia, you know, gives his regards. He said he flirted with you way back in the day at Comiskey, but you weren't biting.
I don't think I even realized.
Okay. We'll cut you loose. We really appreciate you. As we sign you out, we're going to play your audio that your son posted on Twitter for the listeners to hear. But want to say once again, thank you. And we look forward to the next time we can bring you here on Shy Fans in the Stands.
And thank you, Greg and Joe. And stay safe and take good care of your families and one another. And we'll see you down the road.
You as
Sounds
well.
like a plan. Thank you so much, Nancy. Have a great night.
You bet. You too now. Okay. So long.
All right. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. All right, guys. And we're going to go ahead and play that audio that Nancy's son, Eric, posted on Twitter, opening day from home. So take a listen to this.
Hey, Eric. Dad and I are really glad you're participating in the social distancing. And I know you said the worst part was watching no live televised sports or going to games. So maybe this will help hold you over until you once again get out to the ballpark.
How about that, Greg? It makes me want to go get a hot dog with grilled onions right now.
Incredible. Polish sausage with grilled onions and mustard. That's how you do it. 2 Polish sausage with smothered grilled onions and mustard. That's the go-to. The first frickin' game when I walk through them gates, and I don't care if it is Comiskey, I will be ordering 2 Polish sausages smothered in onions with mustard.
Oh, dude, I'm salivating. I'm like Homer Simpson over here drooling just thinking about it.
I'm dying. I'm dying to get back to a game. And that's why we wanted to bring Nancy on. Just hearing that audio right there, of Take Me Out to the Ball Game, it kind of, if you close your eyes, you can kind of imagine yourself in the Wrigley Field or Comiskey Park, whatever team you stand with, and it just does. It puts you right in that spot. You can smell the hot dogs bucket clanging. You can hear it all. It's like right there in that music. There's something about music that takes you to a time and a place, and when you hear that coming off the organ, it takes you right to the baseball stadium.
I dream of the days, Greg, where we could go to sporting events or even leave the house.
Yeah, we're only 3 weeks into this, not even. I think it's day 20 or day 19. I've been trying to keep up with our thread each day, posting, a coronavirus thread update of Shy Fans in the Stands. But lately I keep forgetting until like the next morning. So I'm like playing catch up each time because these days are starting to mold together. So I think it's day 19, but it feels like day 40. That sounds right. Yeah, it feels like day 40 though. And what scares me is this could go till June or July or, God forbid, the fall. And if it did, I'm just not going to stress myself out by trying to think about, when I'm getting it back. I'm just going to be grateful when it does come back.
Well, did you hear what Herb Street had to say about the NFL season, Greg?
Yeah, I did hear a little bit about it, but I'm sure the audience would want to hear it too.
Yeah. Let's play a little bit of audio about. It was on Cap and Company. Cap played some audio from Herb Street about the NFL season coming up. Listen to this.
7-6. Here is Kirk Herbstreit last night. He was on ESPN radio. Pay attention. It's a guy who's as wired in the football world, especially college, as anybody.
In my opinion, until we have a vaccine where we can really just, okay, now we've got some control over this. Even if this curve is flattened out, this virus is still out there. I'll be shocked, honestly. I haven't talked with anybody. I'll be shocked if we have NFL football this fall, if we have college football. Be so surprised if that happens. Just because from everything I understand, people that I listen to, you're 12 to 18 months away from a vaccine. Until you have a vaccine, I don't know how you can let these guys go into locker rooms and let stadiums be filled up and how you can play ball. I just don't know how you can do it with the optics of it. If I'm a commissioner or I'm in charge, if I'm the NCAA, I just don't know how you can do that. And next thing you know, you got a locker room full of guys that are sick, and that's on your watch. I wouldn't want to have that. So as much as I hate to say it, I think we're scratching the surface of where this thing's going to go.
Yeah, so that's what Kirk Herbstreit had to say, Greg. We've got a lot of reaction to it in the chat, but I want to get your initial thoughts on this.
Yeah, it just makes me nervous. I'm kind of in the same Herbstreit mold of thought process here, and I do think we are just scratching the surface. The timeline of when we're going to get stuff back just continues to get pushed further and further away. And there's just so many other variables that come into play with this. I mean, look at the economy and how jobs and, people are in real financial struggles. So, you're not just going to be able to, even if we can get the pandemic down, you can't just flip the switch and everybody goes back to going to games. I'm sure Greg will be at every game. But everybody's,
of course,
you know what I mean? It's not going to be 40,000 going to be packing in Wrigley the first day. Maybe. But, and I doubt it. It's not going to be that simple. Spring training, they're going to have to get loose again. There's going to have to be some sort of spring training. With football, they're going to have a few games to get ready. They're not going to be able to just turn the switch on. So whenever this ends, it's just hard to say. There's no end in sight. And as we talked about with Adam Hoge, the scariest part is it re-bubbling to the surface after we've already got it down, without the vaccine actually being out there and readily available to the public. It really just makes me nervous on a lot of different levels. So, and that's where we're at as fans. There's kind of a wait and see. But as a father and a husband, and thinking about my mom and my wife's grandma and people like that. When I start seeing numbers like 100 to 240,000, and that's if we all adhere to the coronavirus rules now, and that's a best case scenario. But as you're watching the TV every day, the numbers just keep growing and growing, and it's just something we're all going through. So we try not to like harp on it too much on here, but it's impossible to not. It's just always right in our face. This is what we're all going through. Joe is, I am, everybody in the audience, everybody listening is going through this. I don't care what country you're from. So, it's going to get brought up, pretty much every week until we get through this. And like I said at the start of the show, that's why we want to be a vessel to a little escape. I look forward to this show each Tuesday night more than ever before.
Me too, man.
Now because at first I was stressed out. Like, what are we going to talk about? Well, how are we going to be able to do anything without any sports going on? Well, I don't even really care at this point. We can come on here and just bullshit for an hour and a half just because what else do we got to do each week? We luckily, some of us, still have essential job where you're going out and working, but most of us are sitting at home. So, let's at least come here, meet up every Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever shows you listen to and have a little fun in the chat. I seriously take a lot from this, and I appreciate all the listeners, being involved in the chat and being involved in our show. It makes it a lot more fun. And that being said, I know Joe was hard at work this weekend. We got some more audio calls for our Shy Fans in the Stands hotline for everybody to express their feelings on what they're going through here in the coronavirus. And we want to give you fans a voice here on our show. We are going to get to a point where we have live call-ins, for people that want to, be involved in the show in the chat. But for now, we'll do some audio messages from our telephone line and go from there. I know Joe's got some queued up, don't you?
I do. We got a lot of voicemails. We got a couple fun ones this week. So this is our second week of no sports on the Shy Fans in the Stands hotline. Let's go ahead and take a listen to some of those voicemails.
What's up? You've reached the voicemail of Shy Fans in the Stands.
Please tell us how you're doing without sports and leave a message after the beep.
What's up, fellas? Shane Marsaw from 100 Proof. Just reaching out to my boys over there at Shy Fans in the Stands. Joey Two Scoops and what's his face? No sports. I don't know. This just sucks. It's terrible. I'm not built for this. I'm used to having sports on the TV all the time when I get some time to turn on the television, actually. Watching some game tape and trying to catch up on this stuff with the draft, free agency and all that. But, man, it's rough. I'm not going to lie. Thank God we have Bears Barroom, though. Putting out all that quality content for everybody to listen to. But, hey, you guys got a big show tonight. Can't wait to listen. Shy Fans in the Stands.
Hi, this is Tooch, and the thing I miss most about not having sports during the quarantine is March Madness. I really love the tournaments, one of my favorite sporting events of the year. I love filling out the office pool, love watching the drama. I really miss March Madness. Losing March Madness this year, it's like when the World Series was canceled in 1994. All right, thanks. It's Tooch signing off.
This is Tino from the great state of Iowa. And let me tell you, without sports, life is shitty. Especially having to stay home and watch old sports on ESPN. Man, that's horrible. I'm ready to pull my hair out. I'm ready to pull my nose hairs out one at a time. Go Bears.
Hey guys, Fat Mike Chicago coming in quick at you guys. You guys asked what we've been doing during the quarantine, and I've been doing a lot of old school sports watching, whether it be Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, the whole nine. I've been doing it all. I literally just finished up the 1991 full contact women's karate championship, and that was exciting. That was something to see. But in all honesty, I've been watching and playing a lot of the show, watching a lot of MLB Network, getting ready on the NFL Network. And, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. But listening to a lot of Bears Barroom, too. So without you guys, my days are slow. So you guys keep doing what you're doing. You guys are helping out tremendously that you guys don't even know. You guys take care.
Hey, Joe and Greg. Life without sports has been, for lack of a better term, a shit show. Sports is a big deal in my life, so I have to resort to other opportunities to fill my void. I actually broke out my fishing gear and went to the lake. The worst part? Bro, not even a bite for 6 hours. I was casting lures and bait all day. I switched spots 3 times. My biggest sport moment lately has been getting snagged on a rock thinking it was a fish. Hopefully the NFL doesn't postpone their season because now the Nevada governor has closed entrances to most fishing spots.
Hey Joey, it's Barfly and Pawn Stars art expert Brett Maley getting back to you about your question regarding the absence of sports. And yeah, it's been a real bummer, though. I have to say, I think my biggest disappointment has been my daughter's softball team, the Silverado Skyhawks, her high school team. They were 6-1, number 3 in the state, and the season was just getting rolling, and then they pulled the plug. So I've been really disappointed not being able to watch her play. As for the pros, as you know, I'm a huge Bears fan, Cubs fan. I haven't started missing the Cubs too much. The season was supposed to start a couple of days ago, and I never really paid too close attention to spring training, so that hasn't really hit me. It'll probably start hitting me in another week or two. As for the Bears, thank goodness it's been pretty much business as usual. And I have to thank the NFL. I read a lot of articles leading up to free agency talking about how insensitive it was for the NFL to continue with free agency and the draft and all of that in lieu of the current conditions. But I have to say, thank goodness, because it's given us something to talk about, it's given us a diversion, and it's been pretty much Bears business as usual, which has been great. And thanks to you and thanks to Bears Barroom for providing a lot of lively debate on Shy Fans in the Stands and 100 Proof, and really making it seem like nothing is going on at all, which I really appreciate in these trying times. So again, thanks Joey for all you do. Thanks to Bears Barroom, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Obi-Wan, may the Force be with you. Goodbye, old friend. May the Force be with you.
And that was week 2 of the Shy Fans in the Stands hotline, Greg. Huge thanks to Shane Marsaw, Tooch, Tino Martinez, Grant Sims, Fat Mike, and of course, Pawn Stars, Brett Maley for calling in and leaving us voicemails.
That was awesome. Brett Maley there. I'm a big fan of Pawn Stars, so it's cool to hear him on Shy Fans. I know we've heard him a few times on Bears 100 Proof. I look forward to him coming back on there as well. Maybe one day we'll have to bring him on Shy Fans, because I know you two are kind of buddies, right, Joe?
Yeah, man. I mean, if I could ever get to Las Vegas, if this quarantine lets me, Brett and I have already planned to meet up and have a beer. So, if I can ever get out there, Brett and I are going to hang out, have a couple beers, take a few pictures, take a couple videos. But yeah, man, we need some sports real bad.
We appreciate everybody calling in again. And yes, when you call in, a few tutorials, because I'm not sure, I think one of them, maybe Grant didn't, but, sometimes the guys will leave a message, or the girls or gals or guys, whoever, and they don't say who they are. Like, hey, this is Shane, the used to be smartest man in the bar room. That you got to kind of give yourself a identification, put a name with the voice so the listeners know. Pretty sure everybody, for the most part, did, but just want to throw that little advice going forward. Just make sure your name and your title, and then and then give us your feelings on going through this coronavirus pandemic, and the sports lockout here together with all of us.
And Greg, Aldo had a good idea in the chat room. I think we should implement, and also
Aldo's
if you're talking
full
about
of good ideas, Joe.
He is. He's chock full of good ideas,
guy.
And he's just like the coffee. He's chock full of nuts, but. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. But anyway, getting back on track here. What I was going to say is Aldo had a good idea in the chat room for, in addition to talking about life without sports, to tell us your favorite stadium memory. So I'd love to hear what memories you guys have of being in the stands, and hopefully we can get you back in the real stands in the near future.
Absolutely. And Sandman's mad at me because he sent his audio and we didn't have it. apparently, for this week. He sent it to me. I thought he sent it to you too, so I didn't know. And I probably ghosted him when he sent it to me. I pulled the old brags in him, that I like to do, that I started with Dan, and I've done to many others here at the bar room. And I'm sorry, Sandman, you're going to have to wait till next week now. That's the nice thing is if we have, a backlog of voicemails, then we can, use them for other shows, So look forward to Sandman's update on how he's going through the sports lockout next week on Shy Fans of the Stands. That's called a teaser.
That's right. And Sandman, just for the future, if you want to get your audio on the show, just send it to me.
Oh,
you know how it goes.
Absolutely. So
your mom wants to know what number to call, Greg.
What number do we call? Well, you're going to have to ask Joe about that. We're going to have to figure that out. It might be a we call you situation if we do live. Oh, Barb's asking about doing the hotline. I'm losing my train of thought here. I thought she was asking about live call-ins for when we do that. But Barb, if you want to leave a message on the Shy Fans hotline, you got to call our number, which is basically our Facebook DMs. And then you go and there's a little audio button. You go on Facebook Messenger. And then when you go into the messages part, right next to the part where you hit, for texting, there will be a little icon that has like a speaker icon. You hit it, leave your audio. And then if you send it to me or you send it to Joe or you send it to Aldo Gandia, the godfather of Bears Barroom, one of us will take it and we'll get it to the right person and we'll put it together for the next week's show.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And you can hit it, you can get me, you can get Greg, any way you get it to us. Hell, I even gave Swanky my cell phone number yesterday in the chat room during, I don't remember what, it was during Barfly Tailgate Show, which if you guys didn't see that listen to that with Alan Robinson, that's a great listen, so make sure you check that out. But Swanky didn't text me, but I'm looking forward to his for next week.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to everybody here chiming in. I want to hear everybody's thoughts and make sure everybody's doing okay. So, we're going to, I'm sorry, Sandman. I don't hate you, even though you're a little pest. And, I'm always, he is. He's always pestering me about something because it just seems like he roots for all my rivals. I wouldn't be surprised if he was actually an undercover Packer fan. Honestly, yeah, I said that, Joe. Because he's always on my shit about other teams. Like, whatever team I root for, lo and behold, he always is rooting for the fucking rival. Every time, pardon my French. And then, to this also, because people are complaining in the chat right now for all the podcast listeners that aren't listening live. Greg starts to get distracted this point in the show because people in the chat have been, yelling at me, making fun of me, saying things to get me distracted off of what me and Joe are trying to do here, and that's interview some fun guests. I got my mom in here going off on me, saying that I call her Barb and not Mom. Joe, do you think that's weird that I don't call her Mom, I call her Barb?
Yes, it's weird.
Well, I've been doing it a long time, and I don't know, it just kind of stuck, after a while. It's to me, it's a term of endearment. I know she'd rather be called Mom. And it's funny because I never really thought anything of it. I just started doing it one day and then she's like, my name is Mom. And now my daughter is coming up on 2 and she's learned my name. And a few times she hasn't called me Dada or Daddy. She's called me Greg. And I was like, whoa, weird. I was like, slow down. Little lady, you don't get to do the thing that I do to my mom. So I don't know where she got that from. Well, actually I do, but that's what it is. But I'm in a lot of trouble here because of what I said about Sandman might be a fan of other rival teams, but I'm not worried about it. Sandman will be okay. He knows that I love him and I know that he loves me. For those of you that don't know, it's Sandman is the super barfly of Bears Barroom Radio Network. His name's Chris
Blueberries.
Blueberries. He loves blueberries. And his name is Chris Sandlin. And for everyone that's listening to this podcast, know that Chris Sandlin is my friend. So I just want to make that clear to the public. And I apologize for everybody. And speaking of friends, Joe, before we sign out, because we're rapidly approaching the 2-hour mark. So we have an audio here that Tooch put together for me, and I'm going to set it up for our listeners, and then we're going to get into it so we can get into closeouts and shout-outs and promos and all that fun stuff, and we're going to be over 2-hour mark by that point. But
possibly
for the last week, or the week prior to this week, I was calling into ESPN 1000 a lot. We don't have a lot of stuff going on. We're just all wrapped up in our house, and, we're trying to keep it fun and keep it loose. And, I'm a frequent caller of ESPN 1000, and even a few times I've been honored enough to be a guest. Well, last week I figured, my contribution would be a little more fun. Instead of always arguing about Mitch Trubisky and the Bears, why don't we get on here and try to brighten some people's days? I heard one person call in and tell a joke. Another person was telling stories about how they pranked someone. So I thought my contribution would be that I would start doing some riddles and calling in with a riddle and see if the guys could be stumped. So our good buddy, Tooch, John Santucci, co-host of I Have a Stream with Joey Two Scoops over here, and also just a great talent here at Bears Barroom Radio Network and does so much to help contribute to all the shows. He's seriously one of the unsung heroes of our network.
And he's very fertile.
He's very fertile, too. But he is also just an unsung hero of this network, and we can't shout him out enough. So we're going to play this audio for the fans here, and this is basically how my week went with ESPN 1000 and the riddles.
Greg Braggs is calling. I heard him on Cap earlier today, trying to spread the word as much as he can. About what? I don't know. Hi, Greg.
Always spreading the good word. But I got a riddle for you guys. I'll see if you can crack, because I like the guy that had the joke. All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Because Abdallah couldn't get it. He cheated. Somebody helped him while I was on hold.
No one cheated.
He cheated. So, a cowboy rides into town on Friday, stays 3 days, and then leaves on Friday. How did he do it?
I know this.
The horse was named Friday.
Right.
Oh, you guys, okay, I'll come up with harder ones. That one's from Little Big League. I always used to tell that one.
Greg, that's from the Trubisky book of riddles.
Yeah.
All right, I got to get my training wheels off, and I got to get a tougher riddle for you. That'll be my homework for the weekend.
Let's go to C. Blue Braggs. Our buddy Greg Braggs is calling. What's up, Greg?
What's up, boys? I came prepared today. I'm going to get to my riddle now. I'm not going to cry at you guys this whole time like I always do. The riddle. You guys ready? Because my riddle last week was weak.
Is this your new thing? Are you going to provide a riddle now?
I like these. Come on. We're trying to keep things loose and have fun here. It's coronavirus season. We all got to have fun and smile a little. So this is my contribution, Sylvie. Here we go. What can run but never walks, has a mouth but never talks, has a head but never weeps, has a bed but never sleeps?
No clue. Faucet.
A river.
A river. I said river. You were close. I was going to say a faucet, then a river.
I got you.
Do you want to talk to C. Blue Braggs, who is... There's a new tradition now during these times. He's going to present everyone with a riddle whenever Marky is on. What's up, Greg?
One's from the spanking Waddle gave me on Bears Barroom last night, so I'm healing okay.
All right, you're going to crush me with your riddle today, I have a feeling.
I'm ready, because you said my last one was grammar school, and that hit me in my core, and I want to live up to your standard here.
Did you read my next tweet? I said, hey, I love this stuff. You did a great job. Okay.
I'm just trying to step up my game for you. Are
you Googling all these riddles? Are you coming up?
Think I got all these riddles racked up in my head?
Yes.
Come on now.
That's where people get it from, their childhood, family stuff.
All right. It wouldn't take a hard Google search. All right, here we go. There was a greenhouse. Inside the greenhouse, there was a White House. Inside the White House, there was a Red House. Inside the Red House, there were lots of babies. What is it?
Hospital.
Other guys, you want to give it a shot?
No. Say it again. Say it again, real quick. That's true.
There was a greenhouse. Inside the greenhouse, there was a White House. Inside the White House, there was a Red House. Inside the Red House, there are lots of babies. What is it?
A chicken coop. A watermelon.
Oh, a watermelon! Waddle, you're a genius!
No, that was Abdallah. Take that, Greg. Did you Google it, Abdallah? You got it.
I Googled it. What do you think? I got all these
answers wrapped up in my brain?
He started.
It's
he started
watermelon. You, Abdallah. Well, all right. I'll have better ones.
I still don't get it. Yeah,
I don't get it either.
So there's a white.
Yeah, the green shell, the white, then the red.
There's the white. You're saying houses, and then you're saying babies. Oh, the seed is a baby. Oh.
Look, all right. So
wow, what are you doing?
Good one. All right, fine. Next time.
You doing acid with this or what?
We have a riddle? Guys, I wasn't even going to bug you today, but Abdallah just was begging me to come on, and he wants more riddles.
False. I'll take a riddle. I like riddles.
They haven't been good riddles, though.
What's that?
They have not been good riddles.
All right, well, here's our thing. Me and Aldo Gandia, last night on Bears 100 Proof, he was asking me about this, and he said I should come up with a Bears riddle, a Bears-centric riddle.
Now
he helped me out with this here. Are you ready for this?
Yes,
it's
now this is better.
All right, here we go. You'll love this, Sylvia, I guarantee it. So here we go. Why should Matt Nagy put a Madden football logo on his visor?
Why should Matt Nagy put a football logo?
No, a Madden football logo.
Correct.
I don't like this one because I can't Google it.
Is it something about...
No, he's stumping you, Abdallah. No cheating this time.
His play calling? Something about his playbook?
Is it something about a jinx?
Nope.
Now, is there a trick in here that it's not John Madden and it's Joe Madden or something like that?
The reason Matt Nagy needs a Madden football logo on his visor is because he needs an advisor.
Okay, that's bad.
All right, this needs to stop. Thank you for hanging
Show
up.
yourself out.
Oh my God.
Show yourself out.
Oh, ban. Can we ban him?
Our buddy Mitchell in Des Plaines is on the line. Hi, Mitchell.
Hey, good evening. First of all, Greg, you have the comedic timing of a Wolverine. It's probably in your best interest to data test these riddles before you present them on air. Greg, you're a disaster. You should be ashamed of yourself.
All right, so C. Blue Brags wants to talk to you. No. Abdallah wanted him banned, but Waddle and I don't ban anybody.
We don't ban people, especially Greg.
I appreciate that during these tough times, too. I couldn't have been able to take that. There's a lot of pressure here.
Dude, you sound like you're him, Nancy Faust in Oregon.
What is at the end of a rainbow and the Cubs' goal for every single game?
Lucky Charms. I don't know what. And the Cubs' goal for pot of gold.
Okay, any other guesses?
And the Cubs' goal at the end of every year. An advisor.
A W.
What is at the end of a rainbow and the Cubs' goal for every single game they play?
Something with a W.
Boom! Seems like you got it. A W. That's at the end of a rainbow.
Oh, W. R-E-I-N-B-O-W. There it is.
Oh, that's pretty good, actually. That's not bad.
That's my walk-off. That walk-off home run.
It's walk-off home run. It's more like a flare over the shortstop. You know what you did? You know what you did, Greg?
That's more like getting hit and taking first base.
You swung on, belted, caught. Greg, I think your riddles are outstanding.
I got a Cubs one cooking up for them this afternoon. I'm going to give it my last shot. But I do want to just tell you guys how much I appreciate this stuff.
Look, I don't know what to say. I'm just a fan trying to talk sports. And there,
nicely done, Greg.
Yeah, nicely done, Tooch. My man, working hard this weekend, doing a bunch of stuff for 100 Proof and Phil and me and every other show on the network, and definitely wanted to give him a shout out. We had some fun with it, I'm just calling in, doing my best to try to cheer some people up. Joe, what did you think of the riddles?
Oh, yeah, I think your riddles are fantastic, Greg. I love corny riddles, man. They're my favorite.
See, that's one thing that Conan O'Brien taught me in my 20 years of watching him and his hilariousness, is that not funny is actually funnier than funny. Like if you really can sell the not funny, that's when you've hit your comedic genius. To me, that's what Conan O'Brien is. His best shows, his best moments in his show were when his joke fell completely flat, and it's the reaction from the flat joke that makes the priceless reaction. So if I got to call in and tell a terrible riddle to incite some hilarious reaction, so be it. Mitchell in Des Plaines calling me a disaster was one of the funniest things I heard all of last week.
Oh, and Greg, my dad in the chat room says that you could play the Riddler in the next Batman movie.
Yes, I would love to, but I'd be like a terrible Riddler. Like the Riddler is supposed to be like cunning and have all these like witty. I'd just be this Riddler that's terrible and has terrible riddles, and that would.
But that would be more entertaining to me.
It would be a spoof Batman movie. That would be the only way it would work because my riddles are terrible. But shout out to Waddle and Sylvie and Mark Giangreco and David Kaplan and everybody else that you heard there on the audio. Adam Abdallah.
What about
Abdallah trying to ban me. Yeah. We'll see about that. We're going to have to bring him back onto the network somehow, some way. One of these shows, maybe bring him back on Shy Fans and bust his balls a little bit. But Abdallah, he's trying real hard to keep me off that show, but there's nothing he can do because I'm fully ingratiated with the Waddle and Sylvie show. So he has no choice, and that's life for one Adam Abdallah. So a lot of fun on Bears Barroom this week, and of course on ESPN 1000, giving some shout outs. And that's where we reach the final closing stages of our 2-hour show again, Joe. We always say we're going to be an hour and a half, and then they go 2 hours because we're having too much fun. We want to thank everybody in the chat that's hung out with us this whole time tonight. We appreciate everyone's patience as we get through some of the audio issues. As we've said before, stuff happens on live radio, and you just got to work your way through it. So we appreciate everyone's patience. And Joe, great job, kind of working through, the tough waves and everything else here in the rocky ocean seas or whatever the hell I just said.
Of live radio.
Yeah, don't mind me. But again, want to shout out everybody that stuck out through the chat. Grant Sims, you're a huge fan. Zach Sullivan, we love you, buddy. ISO Bob, as always. My mom showed up this week. I've been guilt tripping her, so she showed up. It was more for Nancy Faust. We know this, of course. And, Lady Bear showed up. What's up, Lady Late Bear? We appreciate you nonetheless. And Tooch, of course, we're going to shout you out. We appreciate you and love you very much. Thank you for all the contributions you have to this network and our show. Sandman, we love you. All you guys in the chat. I could go all day, but we really want to first and foremost thank you guys for making the show more fun as we try to, grind through this coronavirus week by week. And, before we completely sign out, I do want to promote the rest of the shows here on our network. Earlier today, you heard Barelissimo with Adam Rank, and you make sure you go and check out that podcast. They did a little bit of a role play draft where Aldo played Ryan Pace, I think, and Adam Rank was Matt Nagy, and Barelissimo was the scout that knew everything. I have no idea who was who, but it was some really good radio, and you learned a lot about what's coming up here in the upcoming draft. So make sure you check that out. And really overall, Joe, the guest slate on Bears Barroom Radio Network this week has been unbelievable.
It's a whole new level, man.
And Barfly Tailgate Show really got us the party started.
Hit the home run to start it off.
By bringing on Alan Robinson to their latest, episode to, reach out to Alan Robinson's foundation. He's trying to help school kids get fed while we go through this pandemic that's, obviously hurting people in the pocketbooks. So want to shout out Badge and Bobby Bombs for, facilitating that. And it was a great show. I got a chance to listen to it in its entirety today. Great job by you guys. And again, like I said, Adam Rank was on Barelissimo's show. We had Adam Hoge and Nancy Faust. Brett Maley making a little cameo in the in the Shy Fans hotline from Pawn Stars. Tomorrow night is Aldo Gandia, promoted on the Barfly Tailgate Show, so I'm not giving away any secrets. That Doug Plank, legendary Chicago Bear, the originator of the 4-6. Doug
Big time.
Plank is coming on 100 Proof tomorrow night. Couldn't think of a better guest to have on Bears Barroom. Aldo, Shane, and Phil are going to be, taking that interview home, and I look forward to hearing it all and learning some things because Doug Plank is before my time and your time, Joe, but I know there's a lot of listeners on our network that know all about his great career with the Bears.
They sure do, Greg, and not only do we have a huge show coming up tomorrow with 100 Proof Greg, but we got a great rest of the week. I mean, coming up on Thursday night, you got Draft on Tap, you got Ryan Badgley, you got Danny Shimon, previewing the NFL Draft. It's coming at us hot and heavy. It's going to be coming up real soon before we even know it.
And I believe they're having Jordan Reed on.
Yes, Jordan Reed is going to be joining them,
it's
so that's
just
fantastic.
guests on guests on guests on guests. It's just never going to stop. And then, of course, Joey, you finished the week off with our much-needed I Have a Stream podcast that's becoming widely popular now that that's all we have to do is stream TV shows while we're hanging out at home waiting for this to blow over.
That's right, Greg. And we probably have your favorite guest of all time this Friday.
You are having the greatest guest ever. I know Aldo said that I Have a Stream needs to step up and maybe get a celebrity in. And so Joe did just that. Who are you having on Friday?
Greg, on I Have a Stream this Friday at 8:30 p.m., you're joining me, Tooch, Aaron Mikulski, and Dan Aguirre will be none other than Greg Braggs Jr.
Boom, baby! And you might even get a cameo from Jenny Braggs, nurse aficionado. She's out there saving the day. She's a hero of mine. Every day she leaves and is out there fighting the coronavirus. And so you might even hear one Jenny Braggs hop on the show.
Yeah.
Talk a little Ozarks. I'm really looking forward to it, Joe.
That's right, man. We'll be talking about Netflix Ozark season 3. Of course, you got Jason Bateman and a stellar cast. We'll still be talking a little bit about Westworld season 3. And we'll even be in a little bit of chat about the Tiger King documentary that's kind of tearing up the internet right now. If it's on streaming TV and you're talking about it, we want to talk about it on I Have a Stream. We're going to tell you what to watch and what to keep you entertained during this lockdown and quarantine. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun, and hopefully you guys can tune in for that.
Definitely going to tune in because I'm going to be there, Joe. But you can't ruin anything on Westworld. So you got to have the Westworld talk before I come on because I've never seen Westworld. So you're not allowed to ruin it for me, Joey. I'm trying to point.
Well, we're not gonna. You're pointing at me now. I see your finger. So yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a spoiler drop for any spoiler talk that we have, but we will not talk about Westworld while you were on the air.
All right, I appreciate that. Just a little pre-planning while we're on a live show. Why not do it? No better place to do it than here. But yes, make sure you tune into all those things. Mike North Advantage tomorrow morning at an earlier time than normal. I believe, right, Joe? I saw it earlier in the chat. I believe it's at 9 a.m. I'm sure
yes, Aldo said 9 a.m.
Gonna tweet it to make sure I'm correct, but 9 a.m. Central tomorrow morning, the Mike North Advantage. That's going to be first up here on Bears Barroom Radio Network. So get you up bright and early here on Bears Barroom, and then at night, and of course the all-new time here for its third week at 7 p.m. Central, Bears 100 Proof. For those of you that might have saw on our YouTube channel, we've been trying out the video, trying to integrate towards video, and it's really exciting stuff. Some really cool features, and we're trying to work our way through that. You can actually go on YouTube and watch our 45-minute test run where I literally provide no help while the rest of them try to figure out how to work out all the bugs. They really should have had the other half of Shy Fans in the Stands part of that test run because I really served no purpose whatsoever other than to be made fun of, which I'm happy to be that guy, but...
Isn't that fun, though, Greg?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're going to try to figure out how to actually work the Zoom, we might need to have someone like you in there that can actually help as opposed to me just making things harder on everyone.
Well, hey, man, I mean, if I was able to get through the technological issues that we had tonight, I could probably get through anything.
I'm telling you, Joe, never a dull moment here on Skype or on MixLR or on Bears Barroom Radio Network. And, of course, we're always going to have some adversity we have to fight through, and that's just trying to show our mettle, see how much we've learned, see how we can adapt and survive. And I think we did an okay job. Adam Hoge kind of threw us a little curveball. We had to reconnect, and we were able to do that. And, some signal snafus, but we're doing our best over here. And we're always going to try to give you the best coverage and the best, sports takes as we can for Shy Fans in the Stands. We're not experts. We're just here to have fun and and talk about our experiences.
Well, that's what we're doing every week, Greg, and we're having a whole lot of fun doing it. And this show is our saving grace, man. You know, if we didn't have this outlet, you know, you and me would be a heck of a whole lot more bored than we are, so we might as well share the fun with the world, right?
That's right. And my final shout-outs are going to go to the two things. Draft Dr. Phil, check it out. Tape Never Lies is getting ready to drop once again, a new edition of Tape Never Lies. Draft Dr. Phil's been working on his tape study of our newly signed quarterback, Nick Foles. Get to see what you can expect for him if he's going to be the one running this offense when week one gets started for the Chicago Bears, if there's a week one. So we'll find out, but let's hope there is, and let's hope we get to see a quarterback competition, but we're a little ways away from that, so no reason to stress. But make sure you get ready for Tape Never Lies to drop tomorrow morning or afternoon. I know Phil's been hard at work at it. Looking forward to seeing that. You know, we've had a little break from his Tape Never Lies segment since the regular season. So definitely want you guys to check that out when you can. And then, of course, Alex Acevedo has started the Bears Barroom Swag Shop. We've done a little
swag
work.
Master.
Shirts are already in, already being made. You know, Alex is hard at work. He actually dropped one off. He doesn't live too far from me. You know, he lives near Bourbonnais and was gracious enough to drop one off here yesterday when I got off work. So I'm going to have a Bears Barroom shirt ready to rock for tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it. But if you have any questions and you want a shirt or you want a hat or any kind of apparel, Alex Acevedo, the swag man, will set you up. So make sure you go and contact him, and he's going to have all the ins and outs, the price, the size, what you need, what you get. Alex Acevedo's your man, the swag man. Bears Barroom Swag Shop. Hit it up.
That's right. And again, for everyone who hung out with us and listened to the podcast version, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We had a blast. Again, huge thank you to Adam Hoge and Nancy Faust for joining us on the show. Absolutely incredible guests. Both of them are the best at what they do, and we really appreciate their time coming on the show tonight. Greg, it was like a dream come true, my friend.
Really was. Again, want to thank, finally, Adam Hoge from NBC Sports Chicago, covering the White Sox, covering the Chicago Bears, as he always has. Does a great job. Thank you so much for all your time today, Adam. I know it was a longer interview because of the audio snafus, and we appreciate your patience and your professionalism. You're one of the best Bears beat writers out there, and we can't wait to look forward to more of your White Sox coverage. Even me, Joe, as a Cub fan, I'm looking forward to him teaching me a little more about what's going on the South Side. I got to keep my eyes on you guys over there now that you're starting to be on the come up. And then, of course, thank you, Nancy Faust, legend of Chicago sports, legend of the Chicago White Sox, to have her come on and play a few songs for us, have a little fun, share her experiences. Honestly, means the world to both of us. You know, Joe being a lifelong Sox fan that's worked part of the White Sox organization. I know he and his family, love
Always.
Nancy Faust. I know tonight was a great thrill for both of us, and truly just a true honor, and can't thank her enough, and definitely got to bring her back on. She definitely seems
No
like
doubt.
she wants to come back on and have some fun.
She was having a lot of fun, Greg, and
He is such
we
a
were having a
great
lot of fun,
spirit.
too.
Please shut up now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's what we're going to keep doing. Keep having fun. Last week was Tommy Waddle and Fat Mike. This week was Adam Hoge and Nancy Faust. And who knows what's going to be going forward, but we always are going to have fun. And for that, I'm G. Braggs, Shy Fan and Stan, my man Joey Two Scoops, Joey Mandel. Make sure you hit us up. Mixlr next week, 8:30 p.m. Central. But make sure you hit up Bears 100 Proof tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central. And, of course, Mike North Advantage at 9 a.m. to get your day started out here on Bears Barroom Radio Network. But, again, I'm G. Braggs. That's Joey Two Scoops. Thanks for joining in tonight, folks. Signing out. Peace.
See you guys next week. Don't forget to send us your voicemails. See you next time.
Where it's